Purgatory, Part 1, Mystery of God's Justice, Chapter 41. Matter of Expiation. Abusive of Grace, Saint Magdalen de Pazzi, and the Dead Religious, Blessed Margaret Mary, and the Three Souls in Purgatory. There is another disorder in the soul which God punishes severely in Purgatory, to wit, the abusive of grace. By this is understood the neglect to correspond to the aids which God gives us, and to the invitations which He presses upon us to the practice of virtue for the sanctification of our souls. This grace which He offers us is a precious gift, which we may not throw away. It is the seed of salvation and of merit, and which is not permitted to leave unproductive. Now, this fault is committed when we do not respond with generosity to the divine invitation. I receive from God the means of giving alms. An interior voice invites me to do so. I close my heart, or I give with a miserly hand. This is an abuse of grace. I can hear Mass, assist at the sermon, frequent the sacraments. An interior voice urge me to go, but I will not give myself the trouble. This, again, is an abuse of grace. A young religious must be obedient, humble, mortified, devoted to her duties. God requires this and gives her the grace in virtue of her vocation. She does not apply herself thereto. She does not labor to overcome herself in order to cooperate with the assistance which God gives her. This is an abuse of grace. Now, this sin, as we have said, is severely punished in Purgatory. Saint Magdalen de Pazzi tells us that one of her sisters in religion had much to suffer after death for not having on 3 occasions corresponded to grace. It happened that on a certain feast day she felt inclined to do some little work. It was only some simple piece of embroidery, but it was not at all necessary, and could be conveniently postponed to do some other time. The inspiration of grace told her to abstain from it, through respect for the solemnity of the day, but she preferred to satisfy the natural inclination which she had for that work, under pretext that it was but a trifle. Another time, noticing that the observance of a certain point of the rule had been omitted, and that by making it known to her superiors some good would have resulted to the community, she omitted to speak of it. The inspiration of grace told her to perform this act of charity, but human respect withheld her. A third fault was an ill-regulated attachment to her relatives in the world. As spouse of Jesus Christ, all her affections belonged to the divine spouse, but she divided her heart by being too much occupied with the members of her family. Although she knew that her conduct in this respect was defective, she did not obey the impulse of grace, nor did she labor strenuously to correct it. This sister, otherwise most edifying, died some time after, and Magdalene prayed for her with her usual fervor. 16 days passed when she appeared to the saint to announce her deliverance. Magdalene, expressing her astonishment that the sister had been so long in suffering, it was revealed to her that this soul had to expiate her abuse of grace in the 3 cases of which we have just spoken, and that these faults would have detained her longer in her torments had not God taken into consideration the more satisfactory part of her conduct. He had abridged her sufferings on the account of her faithful observance of the rule, her purity of intention, and her charity towards her sisters. Those who in this world have received more grace, and more means of discharging their spiritual debts will be treated with less consideration than those who have had less opportunity of making satisfaction during life. Blessed Margaret Mary, having learned the death of three persons who had died quietly recently, two religious and one secular, began immediately to pray for the repose of their souls. It was the first day of the year. Our Lord, touched by her charity and treating her with an ineffable familiarity, deigned to appear her, deigned to appear to her, and showing her the three souls in those fiery prisons, which they were languishing, said to her, "My daughter, as a New Year's gift, I give you the deliverance of one of the three, or these three souls, and I leave the choice to you. Which shall I release?" "Who am I, Lord," she replied, "to say who deserves the preference? Deign yourself to make the choice." Then our Lord delivered the secular, saying that he felt less in seeing religious suffer because they had more means of expiating their sins during life.